So apparently, word on the grapevine is there is a Metal Gear Solid movie in development, and it is going to be having Oscar Isaac playing Solid Snake. I don't agree with the casting as such, but he's a great actor, so I'm sure he'll do a good job. However, my main issue lies in something he said. Now, apparently this film has been meaning to get off of the ground for about 15 years, and he said about the story, they are searching for it. Like Solid Snake, they are crawling through air ducts and they're looking for the story. This story right here. The Metal Gear Solid story that is in all the games. And there's also books. Like, it's not just a graphic novel. I have the two books over there, you know, for the first and second game and the fourth game. Unfortunately, there was never a novel for Snake Eater, which is a shame. But, I mean, I'm going to tell you what I think they should do. They're never going to listen, but this is just me putting my ideas out there on the internet. Please let me know in the comments what you think and what they could do. Should they do their own story, or do you think that the game story is too convoluted or batshit insane that they could never adapt it? I disagree and say they can adapt it, because it's very simple. I'd start off the first film at the beginning, flashback into the Cold War with Big Boss, or the boss to start with, and introduce it that way. The concept of Metal Gear, Ottocon's father, Hal Emmerich's father, and just go from there, and then come back and do the Shadow Moses Island incident from the first Metal Gear Solid game. And of course, I know Metal Gear Solid is actually the third game in the series, not the first, but I think we could probably forego Metal Gear and Snake's Revenge for the time being, and just have it start there, and effectively just as and when characters pop up like Revolver Ocelot, just have a very brief, quick, explanation and callback on why he's there. For this film to work, it needs to be at least 3 hours long. Minimum 3 hours long, or I think Metal Gear Solid would work a lot better as a TV series, personally, because then you could do plenty of flashbacks to the Cold War in the 60s, with Snake Eater and all that, because Metal Gear Solid, the story is there, absolutely, and if I had enough time or concentration span, I could tell you what it is, effectively, but the trouble is with video game adaptations, with some exceptions, is they try and do their own thing, and unfortunately it doesn't always work. If you're taking something that's pre-established with a pre-established fan base and storyline, take the new Halo TV series for example. Now, I haven't seen it, and I probably won't see it for a long time. I'm a massive Halo fan, but I'll be openly honest, I'm not really interested in the TV series because they're doing their own thing. Now, I commend them for that, and they can go for it, and they've probably got fans and people that really like it, and they can knock themselves out, go nuts. But personally, I can't, especially with Metal Gear, the story is all there. Hideo Kojima created some of the best games, the game series out there. Yes, it's very intense, very cutscene heavy, especially the fourth game. But if you just stick with it, and if you're into it like myself, it's great, it's fantastic. Like Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2, for their time period, were very, very far ahead in terms of gameplay and game mechanics and what you can and can't do. But with a movie like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, for example, took me by surprise, and I actually really liked it. And I'm looking forward to the sequel, because they took Sonic and then they just worked it into our world. I don't think that was necessary, but they did it, and it was a fun film. It had a great pace, it had great characters, and Jim Carrey was actually pretty cool as Dr. Robotnik. But then you got the Resident Evil movie that just came out, and the old Resident Evil movies. They fudge it up. How do you fudge it up? The story is there. Take the story. Take some creative liberties, of course, to adapt it onto the main screen. I know things can't just be taken straight from the game and put straight up onto film. The same goes for book adaptations. And for other things, like controversially, I am glad they removed Tom Bombadil from the Lord of the Rings movies, because I've never liked Tom Bombadil in the books, ever. Just, it goes over my head, that part. But with Metal Gear Solid, just follow the game. Take bits out that you don't need, of course, but follow the game, for God's sake. The characters are there. You know, Snake, Grey Fox, of course Grey Fox will need it, because that odd incident requires you to have known maybe the first 2 games that come out on the NES, but, you know, the story's all there. I don't see what their problem is, and again, with all these people doing all these film adaptations, just for God's sake, just adapt the story. The Tomb Raider is exactly the same. And I'm going to review the Tomb Raider movie, the new Tomb Raider movie that came out a few years ago, because my biggest gripe with that was the non-character progression of Lara. For example, in the game, the reboot game, it came out in 2013, I think, whenever it was, is fantastic, and a game that I want to play through again and review and all that kind of jazz for my channel, and for myself, because that game, the character arc that Lara takes in that game is great. It's fantastic. She starts off a very intelligent girl, wealthy girl, who is not a fighter or survivor yet, and then she gets thrown, she gets beaten, she gets impaled, she gets, you know, obviously nearly attacked and all that kind of jazz. I'm not really sure what words I can or cannot say on YouTube yet, so I don't want to say the R word, you know, and all that jazz. And then when she finally takes a life, she has a breakdown, and then over time she begins to get stronger and kick absolute ass towards the end of the game, which is what we all wanted to see, but how we saw it was what was important. They removed that completely from the Tomb Raider film. She was kick-ass right from the beginning of the film all the way to the end of the film. There was really no character progression whatsoever, you know, and that was my biggest gripe with it. Well, that, and they didn't really follow the game too much. They did a little bit, but they just rammed in crap that really didn't need to be there. And I got a feeling that the Metal Gear Solid movie is going to be only an hour and a half long, which is not long enough at all for what is in it. A film that was criminally under its runtime that should have been. Could have done with a longer runtime is the Warcraft film. That film should have at least been 3 hours long, theatrically, and maybe had an extended cut, because I really liked the Warcraft film, and it's such a shame that nothing came of it, because, you know, the world of Azeroth and it's got so much in it. They could have done a lot, and unfortunately I think it's the studios, they just don't have faith in it, and it's a shame, because if you do, you'll kick ass. It's the same with the new Mortal Kombat film. I haven't watched that yet, and I don't want to commit to it because they filmed it with full intention of filming another one, not with just focusing on creating a really badass Mortal Kombat film. Apparently, I mean, like I said, I've not watched it, but from what I've heard is there's no tournament in it, and everyone's got a weird lame ass birthmark, which kind of sucks the donkey dick. But if they'd have followed the game a lot more, I know it's abstract and I know it's out there, but it'll work. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling because I'm full mega nerd, and if I go into a full rant, I'll be ranting about every single game adaptation ever made. But please let me know in the comments what you think of this Metal Gear Solid movie. Do you think it would be better as a TV series? I think it would be a lot better as a TV series, given the right budget and the right writing, and as long as they don't fudge up absolutely anything. Everything will be fine, but then that never happens because people always end up upset. But thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.